Did you use that same process when you started working with Usher and Beyonce, or was it?
Yeah, well, Usher was just like, I mean, Usher was my birth into the actual business as a creative.
Yeah.
I started with Jagged Edge, sleeping on their couch and trying to make it. So I learned the business, beginning parts of the business with those guys, and then Red Zone Studios with Tricky Stewart. But with Usher was when I really learned how the music business functions and how it works, and I learned how to pivot. But in Red Zone Studio days, I was sitting up under Brian Michael Cox, Jazzy Faye, Tricky, Shakir Stewart, God rest his dead, Vincent Cersei. Those guys were kind of teaching us the business. JQ, like we were learning the business. We would overhear them talking about their deals and how many points they got and royalties, and they got to turn in this many songs. If I don't have this many songs come out this quarter, then I'm gonna be, my deal's gonna be behind. Certain things I learned about the business just watching those guys. But then when I got Usher, it was like, all right, now you're in the game. Now you're in the big leagues. So now you understand the position, the game from a position of being ahead. Before you was coming from behind, pause. But with Usher, it was like, I'm in the business from the standpoint of being in the lead. So how do you function being in the lead? That was the most incredible and most valuable situation I could have been in, because when I started becoming successful on my own, I understood what that felt like from being with him.
When you got that card working with Beyonce, how that made you feel?
Oh man, it's good, but like I said, you're like you. I was with Usher in the beginning. I mean, in the beginning of my career, I was with Usher when he was doing the Confessions album. We did the Confessions album.
Yeah.
So it was amazing working with Beyonce, but I was groomed. I was prepared for that. Like Beyonce is a mega star, but being with Usher during Confessions times, it was nothing. I still don't think I've experienced being around an artist besides Beyonce that was that big. So I was kind of prepared to work and deal with superstars. I was groomed by a superstar, by a megastar.
Okay. I think y'all won what album of the year, the Grammys.
No, we were nominated for Album of the Year on Confessions, and we lost that year to Ray Charles. Ray Charles had died that year, so it was like
It was like a respected type.
yeah. He put out a greatest hits album, a duet album, or something like that, and we lost that year to Ray Charles, which was crazy.
I feel like you work with like three different generations. What is you working with any artist in this generation?
Yeah, absolutely.
So so what's the difference between working like I know you work with Nelly, Beyonce and Usher. Then you work with Wiz Khalifa, ASAP Rocky. So what's the difference between all three generations now?
Now I think that most of these artists that I work with now, they didn't want to be artists when they were kids, when they were born. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm popular, so I'm gonna put out a record. No. Seriously. So it's like a different level of consideration to the business. It's a different level of respect.
Is it like, less respect or more respect? Sorry to interrupt.
Way less respect. Like, I'll give you an example. I worked with an artist who's pretty big recently, and he walked in the room. I was sitting in the session. He did like this to me, sat down, started rolling his weed.
That's it.
And then it was like, y'all got some beats or something? That's how he was talking to me. And I could tell that he wasn't a student, and two, this is not something he wanted to do since birth. Like, this wasn't his dream, his passion. It was something that he just fucking around in the hood doing. He got very popular, became very successful at a quick time, so he didn't have the respect for the game. As well, when I walked in the studio, the first session that I ever did as an artist signed was with Cool and Dre. And I asked Mark Pitts, could he get me in the studio with Cool and Dre? And we were in New York at Battery Studios, and they booked it, and I had a session with Cool and Dre, and I walked in, and I just couldn't believe I was working with these guys, and they was on fire at the moment, and I was just like, so it was a different level for me. I was like, yo, it's good to meet y'all. We did like 5 songs in one day, and I was just excited. I just couldn't believe I was there. And I think that the difference between, if you ask me what's the difference between these generations, this generation does not understand how difficult it is, even in their, it's like people say it's so easy now. It's not easy now. It's just, it's easy to, when you actually work, it's easy. It feels easy to the person who just put their song on the internet and it went viral. but it's still so many. There are 600,000 songs released every day on just Spotify. 600,000 songs every day. So I'm telling you, it's not easy. If there's 3 or 4 artists that break every year, cross genre. I'm talking about 3 or 4 artists that break every year, cross genre. I'm not talking about 3 or 4 rappers. I'm talking about pop, country, rap, EDM. There are only 3 to 4 that break every year. Think about it. There's not a brand new rapper every single year that breaks. There are artists that was already bubbling and moving, but I'm talking about a brand new
Crossover.
not crossover. I'm talking about breaks, hit record, viral, whatever it is not a consistent occurrence. But there are 600,000 songs released every single day. So it seems easier, and then for some artists, when it happens for them, the process seems a lot easier. So when they approach the business, they don't have much respect for it because it's easy. But what if, when I was a kid, I didn't understand fraternities. I did not understand a fraternity. I said, that's fucking crazy. Why y'all letting these people beat y'all up, pour milk on your head, make you put your hand in the toilet, you running miles, you pissing on yourself, you did all this stuff to be in this fraternity, until one night I experienced people crossing the line, right? That's what they call it when they make it. They cross. No, I didn't pledge, I watched it. And I saw the same people that was torturing them cried and hugged them when they crossed. And what they showed me and what they told me was that we have to make sure that this person wants to be here. So we put them through the most difficult situations. And when they get through those situations, it hurt my heart to have to make my brother run 50 miles and do 100 push-ups every night and put his hand in the toilet and put his face in, like all this craziness. It hurt me to watch him have to go through that, but I had to, so that he could prove to me that when we in the trenches, he gonna go so hard just like that for me. Exactly. That's what the music business used to be. Now it's so easy to get in. So a person, they're not grateful. I'm grateful every time I'm working with anybody. And I'm talking about people that I'm more successful than or whatever. I'm grateful that I still, after almost 20 years in the music business, I'm grateful that I can say, I'm doing this for a living. I never had to go get a 9 to 5. No disrespect to anybody who has. I'm just blessed to say I never had to stop what I'm doing for a few months and go do. Since I started being in the music business, I have been in the music business. Through the highs, through the lows, through the peaks, and through the valleys. I've been able to maintain and keep a job in the music business. So if I'm in the studio with you, a brand new artist who nobody's ever heard of, I'm grateful. When I'm in the studio with the biggest artists in the world, I'm grateful. I think that a person who never had to experience peaks and valleys and highs and lows, who never had to really chase a dream with a certain vigor, with a certain hunger, they don't have the same reverence that I have for the business. So when they walk in the room, they like, what up, who got beats? They'll never be able to understand it that
Working
way.
with people like Michael B. Cox, like he's like considered like a legend in R&B.
Brian Michael Cox.
Right, Brian Michael Cox.
Yeah.
And apologize about that.
Mm-hmm.
Him being considered a legend in R&B just because of him
And
as a
music,
producer,
yeah.
it's what he creates. Like
Yeah.
you used to see him on Making the Band back in the day and be like, this dude creates hits
Mm-hmm.
in his sleep. And then you work with someone like Tricky Stewart who birthed, like I wouldn't say birthed, but just said like he definitely helped push someone like The Dream to the next level.
Yeah.
And then you go into somebody like Shakir Stewart and knowing that like how he was loved in the industry. Like, did you know those guys were as big as they were back then, or did you catch them also on the grind with
Absolutely.
you?
No, they were bigger. They were big when I was coming up. They had already been, honestly, people had thought, and that's why I always tell people, you never know, there is no expiration date on greatness. People thought that Tricky had reached his prime and he had already seen the mountaintop and he wasn't gonna get any bigger. That was the feeling around Tricky, because he had the JT Money stuff, he had the Soleil stuff, he had the Maya stuff. Mm-hmm. He had all that success and built Red Zone and did well. People thought, okay, he just out here working, figuring it out. And he proved later with, Single Ladies, and then now with the Beyonce current album, all the stuff he's doing, he's proved like when you're greatness always rises. Like it's always going to do well. You always have a home when you understand greatness. But those guys were mega. Jazzy, Brian Michael Cox, Tricky, I was in the room with those guys. Shakir was walking around. It was legendary, right up under L.A. Reid. You know, like that was legendary opportunities that I knew, but I understood the game. Like I had met a kid today. A friend of mine invited me to his studio, and this 20-year-old, 19-year-old kid, he introduced me. He said, "Hey man, I want you to introduce you to Rico Love." And he said, "Oh, what's up, man? What do you do?" And I didn't take it personal. He's a kid, but when I was a kid, I knew. And I even had to learn. I was obsessed with the business. I knew what I wanted to be. And it's no way. If you told me you wanted to play basketball and I told you about Ja Morant, you would know. If I told you about LeBron James, told you about Dwayne Wade, if I told you about, you know, if a real basketball head, if I told you about Eldon Campbell, Nick Van Exel, and Eddie Jones, and you would know because that's what you want to do. So that proves my point. These guys don't really want to do music. They want to get out the hood and they want to be famous. They want to get some money. I would be doing this right now today if it didn't pay.
That's love.
I would be doing it because that's my heart and soul. That's what I love to do. And to be totally honest with you, publishing from streams don't pay the same that they used to do it, as they used to pay. So I'm essentially still in the business doing something for